點啊？就咁擺喺度得㗎啦。
喺度就照掹，但係咧就揈晒啲草去另一邊，係啦。
I will tell you about some story of Lingnan Gardeners. Lingnan Garden is a special project under Lingnan University. The project is hosted by the Cultural and Sustainable Livelihood Cluster under the Kwan Cultural Research and Development, and supported by the Cultural Studies Department, and officially launched on 22nd September 2014 under the leadership of Professor Lee Kiu Chi, and with the support of the university. We have transformed various campus locations into different farming sites, such as wooden planters placed on concrete ground and small fields ploughed on vacant land and scopes. Among these, the free cultivation sites set up in between school buildings have been named Wonderland, Paradise Lot, and Fragrant Garden, with more than 100 species of plants, including grains, fruits, vegetables, herbs, and so on, bearing rich harvest. In more than 4 years since launch, Lingnan Garden has published a bilingual journal. The Lingnan Garden, now there are already 40 issues up to now to share with the public our activities and directions. This is our story, the Lingnan Garden. All the group, this is the newsletters here from 2014 to 2015. Lingnan Garden is actively promoting among university students and the public for them to learn farming, and has made use of special produce for the project to spread the meaning of farming to the public. For this objective, we believe the project could be further improved to not only bridge the gap between nature and students as well as colleagues, but also to bring close together students and elderly to have a harmony blend across generations. The students among the farming activity, working every Friday from 10:30 in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon, 3 hours in each section, for a total of 6 sections. During the 3 hours, they have learned the techniques and knowledge of farming as well as applying them to practice, such as seed selection, sowing, tilling, remove weed, and watering, under the direction of our Xiaohui instructor and Peiyun. Through such activities, they have gained a more complete understanding of vegetable farming and have experienced the agricultural production process through real practice. Many students, in sharing their experience, have indicated that they have never before cooked or worked as carpentry together with the older generation. They have not expected the high level of tolerance and the detailed guidance that the elderly have given during the process. It is reassuring to know that his experience has given the students more respect to the older generation. In the present society where money is the king, it is important to establish spiritual values through cooperation, labor, and communication. After all, material life gives priority to personal gratification and could easily turn people to selfishness and isolation, whereas farmer endeavor requires working together, developing a sense of cooperation. It is our hope of the Lingnan Gardeners and Office of Service Learning will continue to work hard together in the new academic year to provide platform for people from different age groups and social background from the university and the community to learn and to exchange, to impact life with life, and to achieve a more beautiful future. Now I will invite our instructor Xiaohui to have some sharing with us.
非常感谢大家来参加我们彩研这样一个展览的活动。我在彩园里的主要的工作是带同学们耕种劳动。
Hello everyone, thank you for coming here to join our sharing seminar. And my main job in this project is to teach students how to farm in our garden.
我们在中国的内地也做很多的跟农业相关的运动。校园里边只是一个小小的园地。
We launched lots of farming activities in mainland China, and the farming activity in the campus only part of my job.
实际上我们认为耕种也是一种思考。
Actually, I believe farming is kind of thinking.
我们在大学里边读书，也需要有这样的用身体去思考的形式。
As we studying in the university, we also need this kind of body experience. I mean the farming.
尤其是现在关于这个农业和食物的议题，跟我们日常生活的很多方面都密切的关联在一起，它是一个最基本的议题。
Especially current and the present, the food issue is related to our everyday life and it's very close to our living style.
从思考耕种、思考土地，我们可以引出来很多关于生态的问题、全球化的问题和这个全球的这个资本主义的问题。
The food issue and agriculture issues which bring us to the which bring us to the ecological problems and let us to think about the environmental issues and how close we are attached to these things.
如果大家记得我们在几年前在战中的这个行动中，其实很重要的是我们在占据的那个场地也开辟了一块耕种的园地，就是在危机发生的时候，农耕和食物的议题，我们才会把它跟我们最具体的生活关系在一起，它也是非常重要的问题。
In the social movement, especially happened in Hong Kong several years ago, we can realize how close the food issues to our life and everything is related to each other.
所以我希望以后有更多的同学跟我一起在劳动的过程中一起思考。
So I hope more and more students will join us and to think our current life together.
谢谢大家。
Thank you.
前面2位他们已经说了很多关于彩园的缘起，还有彩园和学校这些 OSL 之间合作和农耕教育之间的关系。
The two Fong speakers have already shared the story about this project and the relationship between the campers and our gardener.
那彩园除了农耕教育呢，我们还有其他的很多的活动，包括每2个月都有一次食物的分享，然后几乎每2个月我们都会有一次的请一些各个领域的老师来做一些讲座。
Besides the farming class, we also organize different activities. Like we organize the sharing. We have the guests from our universities come here to share the related consideration. Yeah.
当然，我们这几年也和其他机构合作，做了一些国际的会议，包括这3年的南南论坛。
We also organize the international conference like the South-South Forum. It has 5 years history. Yeah.
我们通过这些活动呢，我们更多的是希望与大家交流农业生态，和更多的是一些让大家关注到全球危机，关注到我们跟我们的生活紧密相关的这些东西。
Through these activities, we build up the network and we hope we have a good communication with people from different aspects.
刚刚立成老师说让我讲一下食物分享。
Now I'm going to share about the food sharing.
其实食物分享最开始的时候，我们只是希望利用彩园的这些植物把它做成食物，然后和大家一起分享彩园的收获。但是
according to the food sharing events, at the beginning we harvest all the food materials from our campus garden.
后来我们却发现这是一个非常好的大家互相交流、互相沟通的平台。
We use this food. We use these fresh materials to cook together, and we find at the food sharing section we have the good communication with each other.
这不仅是一个食物之间的交流，更是人与人之间感情之间的沟通。
It's not only about food. We build up the more close relationship among peoples.
当然，我们最希望尤其是在农耕的课程之中，同学们和我们的长者在和我们一起耕种的过程中呢，能够身体力行，用身体去感受土地，和土地交流，和人交流。
It's better during this process. The elders, the students, and people from outside they build up the new relationship with each other, and we communicate with not only people but also the land, the soil, the environment.
我个人是每次参加农耕的课程的时候，其实对我自己来说也是一次重新学习的过程。
Every time I join the course, it's also not teaching, but also it's a learning opportunities for me.
希望今后能接着和大家一起学习。谢谢。
I hope I can study with you in the future and more. Thank you.
Thank you, our Lingnan Garden team. And now may I invite Professor Lee Kiu Chi comes forward and share with us on the topic, the transition campus and its ecological concepts in Lingnan Gardeners. 而家有請劉建之教授同我哋分享從彩園實踐轉型校園的生態理念。Professor Lee, please.
A very warm welcome to you to come here this morning. When you saw the video just now, then you would have certainly realized that we have frogs, earthworms, and other small animals and insects in our Lingnan campus. And you also saw the students doing the weeding. So farming is not so much only about harvesting, it's also about weeding. And so I think that experience also taught students why farmers would be using herbicide and pesticide in order to save labor and in order to be so-called more efficient. In fact, the project to do farming with students started much earlier than 2014. Before that, we had already started from the Cultural Studies Department internships and service learning projects where we sent students to different places to learn farming. And actually, our first group of students that went for farming in a farm near Beijing was in 2005. And that time, it also happened that our instructor, Xiaohui, was also instructor for our students in that farm. But then later on, we felt that it would be difficult for students to keep watching how the plants grow, and also we also want our students not doing the farming course to also have some experience to learn from the problems, especially certain, for example, to see how the typhoon Mangkhut was destroying our banana tree, as you saw in the video. So that is why we asked the presidential group for some spaces in the campus, and we started this farming on campus in September 2014. Well, I think most of you would have heard about the problem of global warming. So in case you haven't, maybe I would recommend you to read a book which is called The 6 Degrees. And there's also the Chinese version available. So this book was already published in 2007, but then the issue became very acute already in the 1980s. And that is why with the United Nations, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change was established in 1988. So that was already in the 80s when the problem was already becoming so acute that the governments in different countries knew that something had to be done. But of course, governments are always very slow in reacting. And so with the establishment of the IPCC, and then later on with the establishment of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change in 1992, so there started all the discussions and the long and difficult negotiations among different governments to try to deal with this problem. And so I think most of you would have heard about the Kyoto Protocol. And for the Kyoto Protocol, if you look at the effects and the outcomes, it is actually totally disastrous. Because what happened was that the countries, altogether, advanced countries should have reduced by 5% the 1990 level of CO2 emissions in the year 2012. that is already 6 years past. And now we don't hear any of them mention this again, because we have now come to a stage when we are much, much far beyond that level. So just to give you some figures, and you can always do some more research on that. In the pre-industrial times, the CO2 emission was never exceeded 280 parts per million. So you might say, well, parts per million is only 100 or more, so it doesn't really matter. But of course, it matters. So, but then some scientists at the turn of the millennium said that we cannot go beyond 380 parts per million, because in that case, then the damage would have been irreversible. And yet today, can you guess what's the ppm? Today it is 410, which means we have, and that is some of the statistics that tell us, that explains the kind of bodily experience we have, because in the last 10 years, it has been the hottest 10 years on record. And so after the Kyoto Protocol, and then we found that it was the United States of America that refused to be part of it, because at that time, the President Bush said the American way of life is non-negotiable. 沒商量, 冇得傾. So that means they are not willing to have any radical change, not to even say change, on the of the way of life. And so we end up in the situation today when we see that we are in a very, very dangerous period. And just last month, the IPCC released a report on what would happen and what could we do in order to contain the temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius for this century. So if we come in and out of our library, you would find that you would experience a difference of at least 10 degrees Celsius in the summer. So maybe a difference of 10 degrees doesn't really matter much. And yet, if we see that globally, for 100 years, when our temperature, when our average global temperature reached 1 degree higher, which was what happened in the last 100 years, then we see that there has been a lot of damage to the very delicate and vulnerable chains in nature. And every day we hear about disappearances of species everywhere in the world. So they count that in how many seconds we lose one other species on the earth. So we are in a very critical stage, and if we look at the IPCC report, which is somehow quite conservative because it has to be agreed on by all the governments. So very often they would change the wording. Instead of saying this is a very serious problem, then they would say this is a rather serious problem. And they will always add the word probably, maybe. So, and yet, if we look at the report, we can see that even such a conservative report tells us that the situation now is very critical. So what they are saying, what they are recommending is that before 2030, we should reduce all the emission, carbon dioxide emission, by about more than 50%. And by 2050, which is not really so far away, we should have zero emission. But just imagine how we can have zero emission of carbon dioxide. So we are not supposed to drive any car, we are not supposed to fly, maybe we are, so that would mean a radical change of lifestyle. So some of us may say, well, we are about to experience that luxury, the American way of life, so why are we not allowed, and why are we not eligible to enjoying a better life? And yet we see that the situation is bringing us not only to the end of humanity, it could also be the end of the world. So I'm not going to give you more figures because all this is available on the websites. So that is also why in the Department of Cultural Studies we have been teaching quite a few courses on farming. And so we talked about the future of farming and the question of food sovereignty. We also have PhD students who have been doing thesis specifically on questions of agriculture and farming in Hong Kong. And Xiaohui is also doing his PhD on the question of agriculture in mainland China. And we are also seeing how we can be experimenting with certain ways to change our lifestyles. So it has been very gratifying to see our students. You see all these beautiful young faces working happily. Actually, it's quite difficult for them, sweating so much. Some of them said they've never sweated so much in their whole life. And yet, that is an experience that they have, which would help them to try to understand questions about global warming, questions about how we can be doing something to make the world a little bit better or not so worse. And now you can see in our campus that we have grown bananas, we have grown potatoes, sorghum, and different varieties of herbs and food and grains. We could only produce very small amount of sorghum. So maybe after you've seen that in our exhibition on the first floor, we will attempt to make some sorghum wine. Yes. So students only will be allowed to drink that wine if you are 21 years or more. Okay. So, why do we anticipate a radical change in lifestyle and in food? It's because also of the question of the methane. We know that the methane constitutes about 20 to 30% in the greenhouse gases. And a lot of methane is produced through cattle and through the rice paddies. So if we are going to also contain the amount of methane that is released into the air, we should no more have any beef steaks. We may even not have rice or rice noodles. We may have to take more potatoes. We may have to rely on food under the ground and also on the trees. And that is also one reason why in Lingnan we have been trying with various types of food that we are growing, some successfully, some not so successfully. But then we also hope that we could draw more attention and more awareness to this question. So I'm not going to give you a 3-hour lecture because if you don't stop me, I'm going to go on talking. But I hope that you would enjoy the food that we are producing today. Some of that is produced in the Lingnan Garden. Some of that are homemade because obviously we cannot produce enough for us to consume. But then it's also very good news that among a lot of our graduates, many of them have turned to full-time or part-time farming. And so I think it is one way we can save ourselves and also at the same time maybe contribute a little bit to the reduction of global warming and also to attention to the question of food sovereignty. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Lau, for the inspiring words and sharing on the views of global warming issue and how we can prepare for the situation. And thanks everyone's effort so we can farm in the campus now. And Lingnan Gardens do not only involve teachers and students, we also have other community partners. And therefore, we are now proceeding to tool sharing. May I first invite Ms. Ko Yisu, Ms. Joy Lam, and our teaching assistant, Ms. Angel Ko, come forward and share with us on intergeneration and cross-sector collaborations under the Lingnan Garden. 而家有請我哋嘅嶺南服務業集處同事同我哋分享呢個彩園下的跨齡及跨界別合作。
Okay, so thank you so much. My name is Chloe. I'm from Office of Service Learning, and actually I think we have 2 more important people to come with us and share with us together. And I invite Joy and also Angel to sit here together and accompany with me and doing the whole presentations. And so before starting the presentations, I would like to share with you what we have done in this week. like throughout this week, I think some of the students or some of the guests would know that we, Office of Service Learning is now conducting a symposium called 21st Century Service Learning with Inclusive Growth. And we have even guests from the Asia Pacific regions and the Middle East Asia join us in this week for the symposium and the post-symposium events, including this one. And we have guests from Taiwan, India, Kazakhstan, and all different countries. And yesterday I talked to Xiaohui 老师, one of the Taiwan teachers, and I encouraged her to join us. I said, you must come, because I found that this place is full of love. So how we how I can demonstrate love to each other? So I think most important is about the people here. Professor Lau and Lai Chen 老师, Xiaohui 老师, Peiyun 老师, and all the people here supporting Lingnan Gardens really done a good jobs and giving us really good environmental protection issues as well as the student development ideas throughout this service learning process. So today we have prepared a topics called intergenerations and cross-sector collaborations under the Lingnan Gardens. Intergenerations, I believe most of you will know that not only our students join in this service learning, but also we have a very important peoples joining this group. They are our elderly. So I think elderly is are also sitting around here. 我哋有啲老友記坐喺呢度在座嘅係咪啊？我要舉高隻手揮下你哋手仔啊，係啦，俾大家知道啊。Okay, so this topic has just they also join our students in doing a lot of farming work as well as promoting the education work with us together. And about the cross-sectors, we have different people from different departments work together. And for me, myself is for the Jockey Cup We Care Research and the Learn and Children program. So this program, what we are focusing is about promoting active aging. 我哋喺成個呢一個賽馬會關愛服務研習在屯門計劃當中咧，我哋好着重一樣嘢就係推動就係積極樂頤年，咁同埋咧呢一個跨代共融嘅。Active aging, intergenerational harmonies are the important things under this program. So we try to embed these ideas into different subscience courses, including this, the course under the cultural studies. And one more thing is we do a lot about the capacity buildings. So we hope that our faculty members, our community partners will also understand methods of what service learning is. So with the support from Jockey Cup, we also share some resources to support our faculty members and also community partners to attend overseas conference. So Lai Chen, she joins one of the conference in October in Taiwan. And so she also experienced of learning about service learning in Taiwan and also share with the other guests and delegates about what service learning is in both Hong Kong and in Taiwan. So she also after she attended the conference, she also gave me the reflections about herself. I think this is in Chinese. I have highlighted two main sentences from her reflection. I hope that my translation is correct, Lucy. So if I'm not translate correctly, please share with the others during the lunch sharing. So Lucy has talked about she felt that most important for our students to learn about the world is by actions. By putting the students into the real situations, they will experience and will reflect their role in the societies. And second thing is she mentioned about not just about working, not just about doing the farming work, not just about working, not just about the meanings of life, but it's more important. It's about how you're going to have a better life. 你點樣可以好好過生活啊？ I think that's impressed me a lot of we should take care of our own self. We are not just doing work by working with food or with money. The more important is for your own self here. So coming back to these service learning projects, we emphasize a lot about the cross-disciplinary. Our students are not only from the cultural study departments, but also some students are from art faculties of business or even social science. We work together, attend this course, and then they have to do the farm work together. Cross professionals, I think, with the involvement of Professor Lau, her own knowledge towards farming, food, etc. We also have I think later you will know more about the woodwork education in this service learning program. 我哋都有啲木工嘅事情喺呢一度啊。And then we also have the instructors to share with us later on. So cross professionals this year. Cross sectors, definitely we have different support from departments of cultural studies, Lingnan Garden, OSL, as well as Jockey Cubs resources. Last but not least is about the cross-age intergenerational harmonies. So not only our students involvement, but also our elderly also involved a lot in the farm work. So we hope that we can have the synergies of joint effort in this program. So I could put some pictures here so that you can also get better understanding what we have done in these years. So first of all, it's about elder become educators. 我哋嘅長者都即係變咗一個好緊要嘅教育者之一啊！我哋你哋都有深深感受到就係可能同長者交流之間會認識多咗啦。So during your interactions with our elderly, they actually have a lot of different talents, including cooking, including woodwork. They will also share with our youngest or students about the knowledge, the informations behind. Secondly is about the skills enhancement and professional developments. Students who took this course, they have, besides attending the lectures, they also spend time in doing the farm work. So definitely they would learn a lot about the farming skills and also the wooden works here. But more than that, service learning also emphasizes a lot about different kinds of the whole person developments with different kinds of skills, including problem-solving skills, research skills, organizational skills, social competence, etc. During the farm work, we hope that our students will experience the teamwork. You are not just working by your own self, but you have to work with your teammates. How you put your own energies and also your knowledge in doing the planting, as well as especially in the woodwork as well. And problem-solving skills that is very essential because doing your woodwork, you are not just follow the instructions, but you also learn how to fix some things and or even create some things for our societies. So our students, the woodwork is not just after finishing, okay, just put it there, but we will also bring the works, those products back to Lingnan Gardens. I remember a few semesters ago, our students made the wooden chairs. Because those little chairs, the wooden chairs, is for our elderly who go to do the farm work. So they could be easily to work with our students together. So those woodworks are also for our service learning projects in the future. With love and treasure, and our students will also try to explore the beauties of our campus, I think, and especially our farm, our site is all inside this campus. So during the farming work, they will also walk around our campus and they will see that, okay, there are a lot of beautiful scenes in our own campus. Students work with elderly together to cook, so they will also share food with their love. And also you can see the beauty of teamwork here. The wooden instructor and also the students would work together to finish the projects throughout this semester. So you will see those work downstairs because we are now currently having the exhibitions. So besides me, myself, Joy is also one of the important staff from Office of Service Learning, working with Lingnan Gardens, with I think more than me because I just joined Lingnan Gardens for 3 semesters because with the fundings of Jockey Cups. But more important is Joy working with our students, working with our teaching assistant, and she might have more ideas to share. Okay, may I now pass the mic to Joy, please.
because I want to share when I start working in Lingnan University, it is in 2014, and first service learning project I coordinate with is the chemist farming. And I hear many comments from the students, and the most important one is they got a very deep reflection on, you can see it is just an extract comment from students, and they got reflection on the cost knowledge and food prices, climate change, and the most important is the relationship between human and nature. They got a very deep reflection on it. And here, actually, also the student think that at the very beginning, the student think that actually farming is very kind of a low-level job. It is kind of dirty and just don't want to touch more on it. But later, when they joined the project, they got a reflection on the food, how they need to treasure the food, and how to ask to share with their feeling with their families. And also when I look in the downstairs, all the photos, actually I got very deep feeling on it. And I remember the most impressive sharing from a student is last semester, one student told me that I love sweating. I love sweating when I do the farming. I think that nowadays the youth may stay all the time in the indoor and with air condition, and they have fewer time to go sweating, and they may do less exercise. And yes, so it is very big feeling on this. And also because I coordinate with different service learning projects in Faculty of Arts, and in this course I experienced another mode of service learning. Because in other course, service learning is kind of application of course knowledge. But in this project, the students are learn by doing. That means when they do the farming, they have the reflection. It is not applied to course knowledge, but after the farming projects, they got deeper understanding of course knowledge, and it's very deep feeling on this. And actually, chemist farming service learning projects, this is very popular service learning project, and the number of students take this project is going more and more. And in 2014, when I first came in Lingnan University, and the landscape of the Lingnan Gardeners is just a very small, and the landscape is expand larger and larger. Yes, I hope more students will love farming in campus, and also because Professor Casey Lau also witnessed me to pregnant. Yeah. And so, and this project also has some impact on me on how to teach the children, how to teach the kids, how to teach them to treasure the food, how to to start with the relationship with the nature. So I have a little 我有笪少少嘅地 to plant the food, but not very strong as Seung's plants. It is very small. When I plant the corn, it's just this kind of long. And also the sweet potato is very small. Yeah, but it is kind of process for the kids to experience. So I think it is very good project, and I think it will also impact with students, also students' family, and also the staff, and also the elderly. So Besides me involved in this project, I also have some TA to coordinate with the project. May I invite Angel to share?
Hello, I'm Angel and I'm the teaching assistant. And this is actually my second year working as a TA in OSL. And this year I'm very happy to be in charge of this course, campus farming. Actually, as a TA, I don't really, I just have to do some admin work or accompany the student to different workshops and activities. And I don't really have to involve in the activity. But in this course, when I see the students work really hard, it also makes me want to get involved in the farming. And actually, the students have to wake up very early every Friday, and they have to spend an extra 5 hours every week on farming activities and also watering the plants, and also doing the carpentry. And despite that, they manage to attend every class, and also I see their effort during the farming activities. And one point I want to emphasize is that farming is not easy and is harder than studying, because it requires a lot of skills, because we have some plants died because we made a mistake. If you water too much on the plants, and they will die a few days after. Yeah. And overall, I really enjoyed farming with the students together, and I believe they had a lot of fun as well. And last but not least, thank you for all the others working with us, and thank you for their guidance, because they are more caring and they are more considerate sometimes. Yes. 講中文啦，咁即係多謝5個老友記啦，即係佢哋每人都係入咗嚟其中一組嘅，跟住佢哋其實我覺得佢哋好細心嘅，有時候，因為有啲同學可能注意唔到嘅位置咧，佢哋都會即係會提醒同學啦，可能叫你小心啲啊咁樣，所以我覺得呢個 project 有老友記一齊都係一件好開心嘅事，係啊 ，thank you。
One last slide to conclude all of our sharing today. It's like a book from Joy, Angel, and my sharings. And we think that, and we agree, and we believe that the great aims of education is not just about knowledge, but it's all about actions. The action is not just appear in one studying project, but it should beyond your own life. 呢一樣嘢應該要繼續承傳落去，就算你哋畢咗業之後咧，好希望今次你哋喺嶺南喺新生定喺成個 farm 裏邊，大家學到嘅嘢都唔係淨係喺今個學期用到嘅，而係畢生受用嘅。Okay, so thank you so much everyone, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ko Yi-Seung, Ms. Joylan, and Ms. Angel Ko for the sharing and reflection, and thank you our elderly joining us in this project. And now may I invite Mr. Jensen Ho from Hotspot workshop to have a sharing on experience on woodworking and innovative education. 而家 Jensen 會分享下木工與創新教育嘅。Mr. Jensen, please.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm very delighted and grateful to be invited to do some sharing here with you today. First of all, allow me to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Jensen Ho. I'm a furniture designer maker. I run my own business and furniture workshop in Tuen Mun. So how did I get into this industry? Well, it all started some 12 years ago. In 2006, when I made up my mind and quit my job to pursue my growing passion for furniture design. I left my hometown Hong Kong and moved to the beautiful city of Melbourne, Australia, thereby beginning a new chapter in life, a chapter full of unknowns, explorations, and opportunities. During my 4 years in Melbourne, I appreciated the culture, the values, the lifestyles of the people. I worked hard to earn my qualifications in furniture design, furniture making, and furniture finishing. Along the way, I was fortunate to have met some big-hearted and inspiring people. I gained some interesting experience working various jobs, such as home repairs, furniture making, cleaning, fruit picking, furniture assembling, and also grocery store operation. What do I miss the most in Melbourne? Well, probably barbecue and beer, camping, driving, coffee, and Vietnamese noodles. And why am I telling you all this? That's because I believe my time in Australia really shaped my view of a lot of things in life, and it actually added nutrients to the creative side of me. It's also a great source of inspiration for my designs. In 2010, I returned to Hong Kong, and later in the same year, I established Hotspot Workshop Limited. What am I doing now? Obviously, one of my main focus is doing custom-made furniture. In addition, I also do smaller items for the home, like boxes and cases. Furthermore, I run workshops, woodwork DIY workshops for individual customers and also for organizations such as the Hong Kong Girl Guides Associations and of course the Lingnan University. If you ask me what is my biggest driving force and what is my greatest motivation, I can answer you clearly. It's about passion. You've got to have passion if you want to be successful at doing something in your life. And there's a saying that I would like to share with you, especially young people here who are working, studying hard, and planning for their future. Love what you do. Do what you love. In my woodwork or furniture design, my goal is to create furniture pieces that are honest to their functions, aesthetically pleasant, and endowed with a sense of playfulness. Here are just some very quick photos of some of my designs and highlights of the woodwork DIY courses that I did before. You can see some TV units, side table, coffee table, bowl stand for dogs. All right. Yeah, some highlights of the DIY courses. All right. So, what is woodworking? In fact, can you see this picture? I really like this because it shows how a tree log can be sliced differently to convert into different sizes of usable timber. Woodworking is very practical. It's also about solving problems. From design to production, you find that problems keep arising as you go along. Yet, there are always more than one way of tackling these obstacles. The challenge and the fun part for the designer is to formulate the most suitable solution in a certain context. In fact, to me, woodworking is the basis, it's the foundation of my design work. It allows me to turn crazy ideas into more realistic possibilities. Alright, so why do woodworking? What are the benefits of learning woodworking? First of all, it's a useful life skill. Just like cooking, if you have learned something about woodworking, you learn how to use the right tools to fix simple problems at home. For example, if you've got a kitchen cabinet door getting a bit loose, you'll be able to know how to adjust the hinges, or even to replace the hinge to make it close better. Or sometimes you may have a bookshelf where you would like to add an additional tier. You'll be able to know how to do it by installing an additional shelving boards. Also, it helps build common sense and knowledge for us. These days, common sense is not that common, and by learning woodworking, it helps us understand better how things are built, how the parts or components are connected together. So if you go shopping for a piece of furniture, maybe a dining table, you'll be able to tell which table's structure is more solid and safer, so you can make better decisions. Or sometimes when we go to a hardware store to get some tools, maybe some screws, paints, painting supplies, having some woodworking knowledge will surely help you choose the appropriate products for your jobs, saving you time and money. And of course, it's fun. The process of turning drawings on paper into actual pieces that you can use is extremely rewarding and satisfying. Sometimes I'm the designer, sometimes I'm the instructor. Regardless, when I see all the happy faces of my customers or students, it just makes my day. See? All right, now I would like to share some thoughts on innovative education. On innovative education, in particular, drawings my experience from working with Lingnan University on several projects in the past semesters. Community collaboration. Working under jockey clubs, we care, we serve, and we learn a 2-month program. Close connections have been built between the university and local communities, including the residents, local businesses. We also have opportunities for the students and the elderly to work closely together, aiming at achieving common goals. Outside classroom learning is something really important for the growth and whole person development of the students, because it allows them to reach out. By reaching out and giving back to the community, they'll be able to learn so much to understand what's actually happening in the community. Creative decision making. When we're doing this campus farming projects, we've organized a series of woodworking workshops for students and the elderly participants. We have to decide what to make for use in the Lingnan Gardens. But this decision is not a traditional top-down approach. When it comes to the decision to decide what to make and how the workshop are going to be constructed, a more liberal and practical approach was adopted, where all the stakeholders, including colleagues from the OSL, teachers, students, the elderly friends, and myself, were all involved in the discussions. That enabled us to come up with the most suitable, I would say, the products or the projects that we want to do for the Lingnan Garden and how the workshops are going to be organized. And then there's upcycling. Did you know that in some of our projects, we used timber reclaimed from some old benches from a church? It's not only a great idea, but also sets a good example of taking social responsibility seriously. If we didn't collect these old benches from the church, very likely they'll all end up in the landfill. So we're doing this by doing this, we're actually helping the environment by reducing waste. And we also give the wood very precious material a second life. We're not just reusing or recycling the wood, we actually added some creative ideas, put in some design efforts, and a lot of hard work and the end result was something looking very nice and functional. Just like these little wooden stools, and on the right there's a rack for storing all kinds of farming tools and equipment. Material choice, when it comes to woodworking, the choice of material is not limited to those commonly used timber species, plywood, etc. For example, in our latest project, wood plastic composite were used to construct 2 mobile workbenches for the Lingnan Gardens, for the elderly, for the students, to do farming on the benches, to move stuff from here to there. This is the type of material made from recycled plastics and wood wastes. It looks like natural wood, it's strong, it's got good weather-resistant properties, low maintenance, so that is very suitable for our outdoor use. And finally, workshop management. Typically, for each workshop, I'll talk about to all the participants, our project brief, what we're making, the design, what materials we're using, and then I'll just go over all the necessary production steps and give some instructions. As an instructor, one of my roles is to facilitate participants' learning. I want you to think, not just following instructions without asking any questions. That's why I don't always give direct answers. Instead, I'll try to guide them to look for the answers themselves. For example, I remember one time there's a student who forgot how deep a hole is to drill, or how long the screws should I use for the job. I just told him, how about you try measuring the drill bit or the screws against the thickness of the boards to be drilled. Then you can make sure that you won't make the mistake of drilling through the boards or screwing through the boards. Does that make sense? In woodworking, there are always more than one way of doing things. Usually, I'll present different options to the participants of the workshops, explaining to them the differences. You can do this, you can do that, and then let them to decide which method they want to use. Normally, I won't stop them unless I see something very wrong going on. In fact, it's okay to make mistakes. Very often, I can tell my students, if you do this, you will cause certain problems now or later. The reason I can predict this is not because I'm smarter than you, but because I have, over the years, made a lot of mistakes. Some can be fixed fairly easily, but some are more painful to deal with. That experience allows me to avoid making the same or similar mistakes, and to be able to plan ahead and stay more vigilant in doing my work. So I always tell my students, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Stay calm. You actually learn more from managing and fixing your mistakes. And finally, safety is our #1 priority when we do our woodwork learning in the workshops or in the farm area. Thank you very much. Happy Friday.